think it's one of the reasons we joined the Marine Corps is we would never kind of sit there and say, yeah, I feel like I'm good enough right now, so I'm just going to call it a day. You know, the adversary is certainly not sitting back and saying, this is it.
Resolute Dragon 2022 is a bilateral exercise with Japanese Ground Self-Defense Forces. In this case, 12th Marines working with the Japanese Ground Self-Defense Forces seized key maritime terrain in northern Hokkaido. So for 3rd MLG, our role was really to provide operational to tactical level logistics. CLR 37, we embarked on board the USNS Sacagawea and USNS Dahl. We pushed sustainment ashore to make sure that all the forces had everything that they needed to operate. Concurrently, we were working an in-stream offload with Blount Island Command and the Naval Support Element from Naval Beach Group 1.
So starting with Atlantic Dragon, that training was, a lot of time, was the first introduction that we had for the MPF offload for a lot of these Marines. A lot of the challenge stuff that we went into with that was we wanted to do a selective offload. So normally in the MPF program, we take everything off the ship, put it on the shore, we separate it out, and we send it on to the using unit. Building on top of that, we moved into the Resolute Dragon. So Resolute Dragon, we were still experimenting with that selective offload. Now we wanted to use more of a challenge in that in-stream offload. And could we do the same operation, that selective offload, but in-stream at this time?
We wanted to push from the ship to the shore without having to do really anything from the shore. Typically for an MPF operation, most of them we do pier side, which is comparatively easier just because you have all of the infrastructure and everything that you would need to do an offload on the pier.
We were out at Kushiro Port, open water, a lot of variables with the weather, everything like that would impact just minor operations that we were doing. So that was probably the biggest challenge, was just being in that open water and having to work through that.
One of the biggest challenges in any situation is how we're going to get these, you know, sometimes really big pieces of equipment from point A to point B. The MPF helps us do that. There's always an MPF ship that's out and about, so as long as we have access to that ship and the equipment, we can be ready for just about any contingency. That's why it's our responsibility to make sure that that equipment is good to go. Even if we're not the ones using it, there's going to be one of our brothers and sisters that is going to have to pull that equipment and potentially use it for an actual operation or contingency. At the same time, we owe it to the service to really exercise the capability and make sure that it does what we need it to do. We're exploring, you know, how we do things out here in the Indo-Pacific. MPF is a great capability. It gives the commander a lot of flexibility, but there's definitely things that we're limited in doing with it. So it's on us to identify what those limitations are and provide the service feedback so that we can make the program in total better.
Through all this training, everything that we're doing with the MPF program, we want to modernize it. You know, we want to bring it up to that 2030, you know, end state where we're actually doing all the EABO concepts. Really, we can't sit stagnant. We can't stay still. We do that. You know, we can't push the program forward. It doesn't help us in the future, and you know, eventually it'll go away if we can't modernize it. So that's why we're out here experimenting.
You know, the more people that you bring together, the more people that you partner with, we get new ideas and new ways to look at things. Everybody brought a unique perspective to the problem set, which is how you get better. It's how you grow. You know, there were a variety of things that I certainly hadn't seen in my career that, you know, people from the Navy support element had, and they were able to bring that experience with them. I think as we're looking at force design and our problem set of operating in a distributed maritime environment where everything just seems harder, I think having those other perspectives and those other ideas brought into the conversation helps us get after those really difficult problem sets. Our competitors or our adversaries are actively working to get better and get better than us. They want to outperform us. We can't let that happen. We owe it to our families back home to make sure that we're going to fight and win in any situation that you put us in. So we always have to push to improve. What's great about this is I think if you give the Marines and sailors enough latitude, that's going to happen naturally. It's going to happen whether you want it or not, as long as, again, you give the Marines and sailors that flexibility to look at a situation and make it better. They come up with a lot of creative and surprising solutions to problems, things that I would never think of in a million years. But that's what we have to take advantage of. In the end, if we're not getting better, then we're stagnating.